So the person behind me is Michalis. He's Greek, and he lost his job when the Greek crisis exploded. He couldn't find any other job, so he decided to leave the country and heading to England to look for a new job. The problem of Michalis is that when the Greek crisis exploded, he was told by European policymakers that the solution was to adopt austerity measures to consolidate the Greek fiscal balance. And all the models European policymakers used to get to these conclusions were based on the assumption that these austerity measures would have just a limited and temporary impact on unemployment, but that full employment could be achieved in the near future. And ironically enough, this assumption was never tested, but always taken for granted. And these models that have been used for Greece in 2011 are still used now by the European Commission to validate the European member states' national policies. The aim of my project is therefore to come out with an alternative model to measure the impact of austerity policies on some key variables, but without assuming by construction that these austerity measures will have no long-term effect on unemployment. And the model is based on the first empirical part in order to analyze and understand the current economic situation in European countries, in particular how much European countries' unemployment rate is far from an acceptable and reasonable measure of full employment, and then a theoretical part that allows simulating alternative fiscal and monetary policies and see their effect on some key variables like financial sustainability, unemployment, and growth. During my PhD thesis, I already started working on this theoretical model, and preliminary results are very interesting, and they show that austerity policies are substantially useless and harmful. And empirical data supports these findings because those countries that adopted austerity measures, they ended up at the end more financially fragile than they were before, and the unemployment rate skyrocketed in these countries. Well, I believe that if European policymakers were endowed with not just one standard model, but with many alternative models, well, this would probably reduce the risk to take wrong decisions that lead eventually to economic catastrophes that we can see and that persist over decades. Thank you.